we start today with a topic that we have been covering closely for years, the debate over what to do about homelessness in Norman. In 2020, voters said no to a new homeless shelter. This week, they said yes. And in the years between, we've watched the debate play out on our air.
This is Norman, Oklahoma. We don't do that kind of stuff down here. We have to give these people a dignity that if they're down, their job quit, whatever the circumstance, we can pull them back up, make them into good citizens.
I want a time machine to go back and tell everyone that putting a shelter that's low or no barrier in a downtown business district is a terrible idea. But I don't have a time machine, so the next best thing is to just make that decision as quickly as possible.
I just turned 60 years old, and this is the first time in my life I've been homeless. There's a lot of people that are in the situation like me.
Our next big step, I hope, is that the city of Norman will help us build a permanent location that can shelter more individuals, more families, and help us be able to better meet the needs that they have there in one location.
That last bite there from our coverage in the summer of 2023, and here is the result of the vote on Tuesday. Proposition 5 in Norman, about 55% of voters saying yes to a permanent $8 million shelter paid for with the help of higher property taxes for the next 20 years. Of course, there's a lot of work and a lot of decisions to come, and I'm joined by a couple of gentlemen who will be heavily involved in that. Norman Mayor Stephen Tyler Holman. Mayor, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And Sean Lloyd, the Chief Programs Officer at City Care, the nonprofit that already operates a homeless shelter there in downtown Norman. Thanks for being here, Sean.
Thank you, Evan. We appreciate the time.
Well, I know both of you were excited to see the vote. You're excited about the result of the vote. I wanted to ask Mayor, first of all, what was the difference this time around compared to perhaps the previous time where voters said no? And it was a close vote then.
The need is more apparent. I think it's more visible than it was 6 years ago since the COVID-19 pandemic. And that proposal 6 years ago really had no details. There was no location, no design, no budget, no operator. So really it was just a blank check for $5 million to build a shelter to be determined.
Okay.
So we spent the last 6 years trying to answer those questions and identify a location, a design, a budget, an operator. And we did all of that and then brought something to voters that we thought they'd be willing to approve.
There have been grumbles about the location of the current shelter that City Care operates currently.
Yes.
Sean, let's talk about the location of this new shelter that will be built, because you already have all that figured out.
That's right. Yeah.
And what makes this location an appealing location for you?
Yeah, the best part about this location is it's located close to the other service providers, and what it'll create is a centralized location for us to work with our clients and just quite frankly have more access and more time to work directly with those clients. And it'll allow us to bring services in to the clients instead of having our clients have to kind of move around the city to get to the different service providers.
The feedback that the city received, because I know there was a lot of build up to this, there was a lot of, I was looking at the results of a survey that was released in 2025. What was the feedback that you heard, Mayor, when people talked about the location for a homeless shelter in the city?
Understandably, most folks may not want to have a shelter next to their house or their business or their property.
That's not a Norman-only thing.
Not a Norman-only thing.
Anywhere you go.
And even people that are very supportive of the shelter are understanding of that and may feel the same way. But one of the cases that we made was that in all of Norman, where would be the most logical place if we're going to have one, and I think we need one in a city the size of Norman, the third largest city in the state, that if we have to have one, where would be the most logical place? And the campus of the Griffin Memorial State Hospital seemed like the most logical place. It's been a state mental institution for over 130 years. There are multiple nonprofit organizations and state services and the Cleveland County Health Department that are all in that central location, as Sean was alluding to. So that seemed to make the most sense to me, and that's part of what I ran on as mayor, was identifying that location and pursuing it.
Well, when we talk about the other resources, I think that's important, because when we talk about building a shelter, that's not just what's being built here, right? That's not what City Care does. I know when somebody comes in, the shelter part is just a part of the equation, correct? I mean, what does it take to make a program like this a successful program for the community, but also the people who need the help?
Yeah. So we consider it more of a housing hub, right? So shelter's just a step on the way of an experience with homelessness, you know, and shelter is a tool, but what it takes is it takes a team of people, it takes housing navigation, it takes resource coordinators, it takes multiple people to have different touch points with the client as they pass through, or one of our shelter guests, like we like to refer to them as. And so that would look like connection to services, which could be SNAP benefits, or it could simply be they need an ID, because you can't actually lease into a place without an ID or social security card. So it's gathering documents, it's putting together a system and finding out maybe if there's things in the past that might be a barrier, and looking for places that we can actually help that person move into, or that we could work with to kind of move around some of those barriers. So it's actually a team of people, and it takes multiple service providers to walk someone into housing.
Well, it certainly seems like this is something that every case is very individualized, that there is not a one-size-fit-all thing for
That's
the
right.
people that you're trying to help. Would that be accurate?
That's right, yeah.
And so when you're able to be, you know, and really work individually with people, that's the key to something like this. Are there features of the new shelter that are not in the existing shelter that's going to help you do your job better?
Absolutely, and that's not just with facility and office space and some of the things we need to do that job. That's also showers and storage areas and pet kennels and the things we need to remove barriers so we can get people to come in and start working with us.
The current shelter has none of that.
That's right.
Okay.
No office space, no showers, no laundry, no kennels for pets, no storage space.
And it's sometimes those little things that make all the difference in whether somebody seeks help or not.
Right, and if someone is has the ability to look for employment, and we get them hooked up with an employment service, if they don't have a place to wash their clothes or take a shower,
Sure.
we can't expect that they're going to be able to maintain, work with that without having those bare necessities, right? And so those are all things that fit the total picture. And so if we don't have all of those things available, then we really can't expect someone to move through our system.
Mayor, I've seen, there were a lot of people who opposed this past 55-45, roughly, give or take. And some of the opposition that I've seen on social media and stuff, they said it basically like this. They said, by building a fancy new shelter and creating a centralized place for resources, all you are doing is just inviting more and more people who need this help into the Norman community. Do you think that could be true?
I think there's some truth to it. As Norman continues to grow as a city, we've doubled in population just in my lifetime growing up in Norman. And with that, the visible homelessness in Norman has grown with that. And being the third largest city, as I mentioned, it's an issue that we have to deal with. We have the county jail in our city, we have a large hospital system, and currently we still have Griffin Memorial State Hospital, which will be moving to Southwest OKC later on this year. But the issue is already here. We are responding to an issue that already exists. And I always point to the fact that Food and Shelter for Friends, for example, a longtime nonprofit in Norman since 1981, they didn't start as a nonprofit with no homeless people in Norman. They didn't start a nonprofit to provide shelter services when there wasn't an issue and just waited. There was an issue that was identified, and they began. And then a couple of years ago, the city identified that there was a gap in low barrier shelter, and we've been filling that gap ever since.
Well, I want to ask both of you, and Mayor, I'll start with you. How do you measure success on a project like this? You already have success in the sense that voters said yes, there is going to be this $8 million shelter that will be built based on that. But what next? What means, when you look at this and years down the road, what will be success to you?
That we are able to reduce homelessness by helping prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. That was one of my major platforms as mayor, is running for mayor. Is I don't just want to build a shelter to house people, a warehouse for people at night. I want a place that actually is wraparound and comprehensive, that's going to help people, prevent people from becoming homeless if they're on the edge, and if they do and they show up and they need help, that we're going to be able to get them in and out of that situation as fast as possible. And so it has to work that way, in my opinion. And to me, that will be the measure of success, if we're able to get people on on their feet and out of that situation as fast as possible. If we're able to save people's lives, that is a big deal to me as well, and I think that's exactly what it will do.
And Sean, we just have about 30 seconds, but I ask you the same question, and also specifically along this. This is a partnership between City Care,
Yes.
the City of Norman. What is a successful partnership as you are starting to build this together? What does that look like?
I think a successful partnership is us continuing to coordinate well together, us continuing to communicate and work together to build a pipeline for people who may come into homelessness or who may already be experiencing to, like Mayor Holman said, to actually move into housing as quick as possible and to build a system that's not only going to function for a small period of time, but that's going to last a long time in Norman so that we can try to get that number closer to a functional zero.
Well, it's been an issue that we've followed obviously for years and years. It's not like the issue is going away, but a major step forward, I think, for the community of Norman here as this, as again, voters had their say this past week. And gentlemen, we thank so much your time for being here, and we look forward to watching this progress and see what happens next.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. That's what this show is for.